This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the superstars of the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Nationals Monster Truck Challenge. A good crowd on hand here for the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Spring Nationals, bathed in sunshine here at Memphis Motorsports Park as we take a look at Wayne Smazanik, the 1990 Chevy called Nightlife out of Jupiter, Florida.
Well, people are familiar with the name of the truck, Nightlife. Dave Wysoric used to own it. Wayne just bought the truck. And who's he going up against in the first round? Jack Willman Jr. out of Granite City, Illinois, with the Tonka truck they call the Taurus.
That'll be a tall order for Wayne to knock out Taurus here in round one in Memphis.
We keep talking about the technology of the truck. One of the newer technology trucks will be the Tonka truck. And I want you to notice how quick it moves. But the left front seems to tuck on it real bad. Look at this. Again, both jumps, the left front nosed over, Gary.
Well, not once, but twice, Jackie Willman Jr. almost went out of bounds. Let's watch again. He has to fight that thing. That's like a race car pushing through a corner, and you're struggling to get that thing turned.
You know, you're not only dealing with left and rights and ups and downs in monster truck racing, you're dealing with pitch and yaw, too, Gary. That's a perfect example.
Now you're using those aviation terms. Let's talk to young Jack.
Jack, the landings look so critical, but you're just clipping the last vehicles on both jumps.
Yeah, I only run in second gear on the transmission on that run. I could have probably used high gear, and it would have put me out there farther and have been a little bit smoother landing, but I didn't know, and I was just trying to make that race.
Well, we'll see young Jack Willman Jr. in round two, but
Well, Gary, here's the Cinderella story we were telling you about. Jim Booker, this time yesterday, had never been in a monster truck. He drove it around a pit area, won his first round, but it's going to get tougher as you go deeper into this field because old Taurus is going to be pulling up on the left lane, going heads up to him. Taurus, again, one of the new trucks, the soft truck. This is the driver's father, Jack Willman Sr., Jr. doing the driving, sponsorships by the Tonka Toy Company. But in order to win, you got to be first on the other end, and look at that, Gary Lee.
Willman cut a good line, had the horsepower. Look at the air, and he has the victory.
Yeah, but Gary, the truck's doing the same thing. It noses it over to the left, and he still goes a 6:81, under 7 seconds on this track, Gary.
Remember, that's important because the fastest run will have a bye to the finals. Willman got the good jump, then powered through that second set of cars, takes the victory, but it was not without some problems. Here's Army.
What's the problem down here?
I broke a couple rear shock bolts. It's kind of minor. We just, need to get on and get her fixed.
You will be able to get back in the next round?
I believe so. I don't know how much time we got, but we're going to try.
What a great story. Son driving for father, and they're trying to get that truck ready for the next round of competition here in Memphis. Well, this is a shootout between Barefoot and Taurus for the right to meet Bigfoot in the championship here at Memphis, Tennessee.
And laying all the cards on the table, I'm going to be very upfront. There is no love at all between these two trucks.
Well, both get a good start side by side, but over the second one, oh, it's out of bounds for Barefoot. Barefoot will be disqualified. They lose the left rear tire on Taurus. He's in trouble.
These guys, I keep referring to an old-time street fight. Man, this was a classic example. Barefoot disqualified. Taurus goes so hard. Look on the final jump. Now, they're clearing the first jump now, but I want you to watch Willman. Right now, he literally pulls the trigger and clears by about 5 or 6 cars that final jump as he goes past his father, who, by the way, is dodging to get away from Barefoot.
He's jumping behind that telephone pole right there to miss Barefoot, as Barefoot is disqualified for going out of bounds. Now, father and son look over the damage to the left rear.
But he went out of bounds.
Yeah, the tire ain't broke on the front. It's talking money. I mean, I had the bars holding it. I mean, I could go over the cars.
Okay.
I mean, seriously, if we can get some air.
Gary, I think they're going to try to get back in this thing.
Give us a few minutes, get some air.
Do we got 5 minutes? Ask him, tell him I can run.
Taurus says he can run if he's got 5 minutes. Well, we need some air. We need some air to run it out. You got it.
Well, he might not be much of a match for Bigfoot in the finals, but they're going to try it. Let's look again. Now watch, they're very even right here. Now watch Barefoot head out of bounds, and look at the air as he noses down, but once again, young Willman keeps the foot on the throttle and powers out. Well, Army, check and see if he can make the finals.
Okay, Jack, you got a 5-minute clock going for you. Can you make it?
Yeah, all I need is a little bit of air. I done some more damage in there, but as long as I can make the pass, I can get second place. It was a tough run.
A little bit of air. Look at the rear tire. Looks like it's major damage.
Yeah, well, the front bead is off, which is obvious to see, and the back is on, so it'll take air just as soon as I can get air. So we're talking a couple minutes, and I can be back on the track.
We'll see you there.
Thank you.
Bigfoot and Taurus in the finals from Memphis.
Well, Gary, the air is there, and it's final time in Memphis. The classic battle of Chevrolet going against Ford, Taurus going against Bigfoot.
Well, this Taurus is injured. The question is, will he actually make an attempt or just present himself to get second place points? It's Bigfoot with Andy Brass, Jack Willman Jr., and yes, he just makes an appearance for second place, prize money and points, and Bigfoot will take the victory. No competition there.
No, Andy Brass definitely, you know, he went ahead and made a run out of it. The rumor mill was saying Taurus is not going to run hard, but you don't roll over. You don't let anybody walk into the next round. These guys did exactly what they had to do. They gave it their best shot. It was not to be their day. But here right now, we're going to have an opportunity to see the old and the new. The old will be represented by Steve Hess. He'll be going against Jack Willman. Willman in the right lane. New suspension, the softer suspension. Now, Hess is a real strong truck in the far lane, but it's an older style truck. You should be able to see on this run the difference in the suspension. It should be softer on the right side, bouncy on the left side. Let's see what happens.
Well, Willman cut a good light, had the big advantage from the very start, but look at that old truck bounce.
Yeah, the stiff suspension is just not the way to go. They say they want to build them now to where they act like a sponge. They actually absorb the impact.
Well, watch from this camera angle the suspension work in the newer truck on the near lane.
See, Hess has bounced in the background already. Meanwhile, Taurus, he's already gone to the final jump.
So young Jack Willman will advance. He finds someone he knows up in the crowd, and he'll advance on to round 2 competition. We take a look at Gary Porter. They've gone to work. That truck is back in competition, the Carolina Crusher.
Gary, you've been around racing a long time. Things like this always happen, don't they? There's something to get these guys going, and the Crusher is trying to pull the Cinderella story of the day, but Taurus is not going to be reading the same book that the Crusher is.
Jack Willman Jr., the far lane. Gary Porter, the near lane. And it looks like the youngster may have the advantage. Yes, Willman will win it.
Gary, did you see how far he cleared the last set of cars? Look at the time.
That will give him the bye to the finals. 7.56 is there with a big thumbs up. He runs over to congratulate Junior on his victory over Gary Porter and Carolina Crusher.
You know, Gary, I noticed something else about that team. Those guys run everywhere they go. Watch this. They won't walk anywhere. Watch this. Got to run. There you go. What'd I say?
Just a tad animated as well.
Hey, that's why they're good, I guess. They're going to the final. That's all that counts.
I'm wondering, though, Army, if there's a problem with Taurus. Because of all that animation, they acted like there might be something they had to rectify before the championship round. Let's talk to the driver, young Jack.
Everything's happening real quick. What's going on out there?
I broke some more stuff off the back suspension. It's bottoming out, and my dad, which is the owner of the truck, he's taking it back to get the repairs done for the next round.
Okay, what he's talking about, I'm going to let you go. You can take off. The situation is the pit area is about a quarter of a mile away. He's got to come back in the stage place and get ready to go. Dad's taking the truck back. Everybody's running around here. It's typical thrashing. We're getting ready to go into the finals. Hang on.
Well, young Jack will go to the finals. He has a bye from the semifinals, which are actually coming up next. Stay with us. And talk to young Jack Willman before the finals.
Okay, Jack, you and Bigfoot in the final. You've been there before. Can you handle him?
I'm going to give it my best shot. You know, he's a tough competitor, and number 8, I think, is our best Bigfoot, and I'm going to give it my best shot.
So it will be Chevrolet versus Ford in the championship. The fans are ready here in Memphis. There is a look at Jack Willman Jr. in Taurus, the GMC, a truck owned by his father. He will take on Andy Brass and Bigfoot. The road to the final, Taurus defeated Nightmare and the Carolina Crusher. And then he had a bye to the finals, whereas Bigfoot defeated USA 1, King Crunch, and Nightlife. And there's a look at Bigfoot 8.
There's an old saying in motorsports, Gary Lee, and you know it as well as I do. The difference between men and boys is the price of their toys. And ironically, the 2 biggest toy manufacturers in the country are sponsoring each of the competitors. The Tonka toy, it'll be on the side of the Taurus truck. The Mattel Hot Wheel, it goes to the side of Bigfoot. The classic Chevrolet, Ford, new driver, manufacturers, everything for a Hollywood motion picture script is going to be on the line right here. This could be the best monster truck race ever. Side by side and a half track, Gary Lee.
It's still side by side, almost a photo finish.
I can't call
Who won it? I can't tell. Who won that thing?
That could be. We could have just seen the best monster truck race ever. Side by side, neither kid would blink. Nobody wanted to back off on the other guy. What a race here in Memphis.
You have to be impressed, Army, with this youngster, Jack Willman Jr. He went up against the most formidable of foes in Bigfoot, and he may have beaten him. game. Let's watch right here. Oh, it looks like, oh, I won't call it.
We're going to let the track crew tell us who won that. I don't know. I've seen a lot. I've been around a lot. That's the best I've ever seen, Gary Lee.
Well, who are they going to give it to? Watch this. Let's watch from this angle as Jack Willman Sr. takes a look, and I can't tell from that angle.
No, that's the
He
third
seems to think that perhaps his son has won. As we take a look one more time, Army, see if you can't get those two drivers together to get their comments, as once again it is too close from our vantage point to call.
Okay, the word we get, Gary, coming over the headset, winner goes to the Chevrolet by 4/1000 of a second. Congratulations to you.
Yeah, it was a tough run, you know, Bigfoot 8, you know, it's the toughest truck Bigfoot's got, and it's tough to beat.
Let me bounce over here to Andy. Andy, congratulations on that. Was super. I've played this game a long time, gentlemen. That had to be the best monster truck race I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was a real close race, probably the hardest one I've had to run. Taurus's new truck it's hard to beat, and I knew we was going to have to pull a good light on him to get him, and all the way down through there it was close, and I knew it was going to be close at the end.
Well, one of the questions we had at the beginning of the show, have the new technology trucks arrived? I think the answer is yes, because they were both in the final today. Gary?
Let's take a ride with Jack Willman Jr. in perhaps the best monster truck race ever. He's on the hammer hard over the first set of jumps as he defeats Andy Brass in Bigfoot. Our congratulations to Jack Willman Jr. Well, for Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. That wraps it up. Thanks for joining us here in Memphis, Tennessee. We'll see you next week for another edition of Trucks and Tractor Power. Now, here's news about an exciting new home video from Diamond P Sports. Time as we look at Wayne Spozanik from Jupiter, Florida in Nightlife. That is a Chevrolet monster truck, and he goes up against a brand new creation. Jack Willman Sr. will be driving Taurus. Here's Army.
Jack Willman out of Granite City, Illinois, has been a player in monster truck racing for many years. We're going to look at his new truck right now. I'll give you a first-time shot at this vehicle. Notice the cut tires. Saves a little bit of weight on each of the cleats. We'll tell you more about that a little bit later. Some of the interesting facts about this truck, again, in order to save weight for the new Taurus, they run a completely tube chassis, okay? That saves them about 2,000 pounds of weight. Now, they got to weigh 10,000 pounds, but when you save weight here, you can put it somewhere else. They also save weight on the new Taurus by going with a full fiberglass body. What do they do with the weight that they're saving in the chassis and the body? Very simple. They can put it in the engine compartment, but the engine is actually moved back in the vehicle to give you a better balance. And of course, another thing about the Taurus team that nobody else does, and I can't understand it, look at the Snoopy nose on the 91 Chevrolet. They're the only guys that do it. They can see better than anybody on the circuit. Snoopy nose on a monster truck.
Well, what do you mean, Army, a Snoopy nose? That should be a slopey nose.
No, that's on the doghouse of the truck.
Sorry I even brought that up. Side by side over the first set of cars. Can Willman do it in the brand new Taurus? Yes!
Boy, driving it out that back door, both of them, Gary.
By the doghouse, he won that. By the length of the doghouse.
Snoopy nose, win. There you go.
So the brand new Taurus truck will advance to the quarterfinals as we take a look again.
This is just a good old time race. Look at this.
Yeah, this is a good shootout between a couple of Chevrolets.
Once again, Gary, the last 100 feet played a role in this one.
Well, the showcase of this four-wheel and off-road jamboree is the side-by-side monster truck racing. A good crowd on hand.
On the win or lose. Gary, he actually beat Taurus to the last jump. Look at this. He went over it first. But the finish line is 100 feet further.
Continue. Here's a look now at Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher. He goes against Jack Willman Sr. in the brand new Taurus.
This could be one of the quickest monster truck races ever.
Side by side over the first set of cars. Taurus may have him, but Taurus is in trouble.
Gary, the top end charge impact blows out the right front wheel. He's trying to keep it upright. Willman's okay. How about Porter?
Well, Porter was fast. Remember, the fastest loser advances. The fastest loser from round 2 will continue on. Let's look again. A good start, a good hole shot right there by Willman. Now, Willman seems to be out of control all the way through this run. He'll have to change the right front, and changing a tire on a monster truck is not like a NASCAR pit stop.
Jack, I know you're busy. Thanks for coming over, but tell us exactly what happened on the run.
Well, you know, I got a little bit out of shape, but I don't know what cut the tire. Something cut a big old gas in the tire, and of course the tire's run. And just how that happened, I don't know. I need to go down there and inspect things. I don't know if it happened on the first set or the second set. When we get to look at a little bit of video, we'll be able to maybe tell when it happened.
Yeah, if he looks at the video, Army, he can tell exactly how it happened and when it happened.
But the big story trackside, I don't believe Taurus is going to make the call for the next round. Snakebite gets another shot at Bigfoot, Gary.
Indeed he will. As we take a look at Pat Suma and Jack Willman as they line up side by side. Once again, we have Taurus above and beyond.
Jack Willman has been around this sport as long as anybody. He comes out of the Granite City, Illinois area, right across the river from St. Louis. He's going up against Above and Beyond, probably one of the newest trucks on the circuit. So the odds-on favorite has to be the Chevy in the far lane, Gary.
Well, of course, Taurus is a brand new ride, a brand new truck. Above and Beyond in trouble. A ragged drive for both of these guys, but the victory will go to Taurus. Nothing pretty about that.
No, not at all. But I don't think that Jack was driving. He knew how tough the competition was. He ran just enough to beat him. Now, one of the things you got to remember, though, on these jumps, there's a missing car. The second car is missing, so you have to clear about 10 feet in the air. So you got to drive hard enough to get over that hump, Gary.
We have some bad news for all the Taurus fans. That is a brand new truck. Had an easy first-round victory over Above and Beyond. But there is something amiss in the drive shaft, and Taurus is out of competition. And here's a look at another brand new truck. This is Jack Willman out of Granite City, Illinois, up near St. Louis, in the truck he calls Taurus. And here's a look at Alan Tura out of Warren, Ohio. This is Goliath.
Now, Tura's been on the sport just about as long as anybody, but he doesn't run in open competition. It's a book-type truck and everything, but he decided to come over with Goliath and see what he could do against these heads-up racing trucks. Man, if he picked a bad guy to go against.
Well, already Willman Sr. has the measure of Goliath, and he'll take the victory. Goliath motoring very slowly. Now he begins to pick up the throttle just a bit.
Oh, he's in trouble, Gary.
Oh, he's in big trouble. He picked up the throttle, but not enough. He was in that section where he didn't have enough speed to make it all the way over the cars. He made it over all right, upside down. He's okay. He bails out in a hurry. He can't be too happy with his decision to continue on. He was beaten, but he tried to complete the run.
Boy, that truck. It may not look like it. Allen's okay. The word we get, he's okay. That truck has sustained a tremendous amount of damage. If it had been going faster, I don't think the truck would have been torn up this bad.
I think had he had more momentum going over that jump, he would have been all right.
Yeah, exactly.
Extensive damage to Goliath. Now let's look once again. Now right here, he's beaten.
Yeah, it's
the
a done deal.
run is over. Why even complete the run? Why not just gingerly take him alongside the cars and off back to the paddock area?
Well, Allen, like I say, he's a showman, and he wanted to show the people what the truck can do.
Nail the hammer hard.
Right here, he did.
Speed.
Too late. Too late.
He needed more momentum hitting that second ramp.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to have the ground speed. You got to fly these trucks. There's no doubt about that.
Well,
again, right side of the screen.
Guessing his decision to go on this run, a very costly error judgment.
You're going to see how costly in just a second. Like I said, they're getting ready to right that truck back up. A lot of damage, Gary.
He'll need a pickup truck to haul away the pieces from this pickup truck as they, as you say, start to right this truck. And there is Goliath. Oh, look at that. All I see are dollar signs.
Yeah.
As the fans look on here in Canfield, Allen's going to pick up the pieces and walk away.
Another day at the office for a monster truck driver.
Competition. There is a look at Colt Cobra in Snakebite. Never reveals his identity. He will go up against, in round 2 competition, Taurus, Jack Willman Sr. out of a city, Granite City, which is right near St. Louis.
You know, the Granite City area is known for some tremendous open-wheel racing over there. This guy goes out all over the country with a different kind of racing philosophy. That being the old 66-inch tall tire monster trucks. He's a player, isn't he, Gary, wherever he goes?
He has a slope nose on that doghouse, and look at the advantage he takes over Snakebite.
Yeah, he completely cleared the last set of cars. And the finish line is the last car. Remember that on this track. They've been playing with that finish line, trying to figure out the right setup, and I think they found it here. The last car is the finish line.
And look at the size of the advantage that Jack Willman has over Colt Cobra.
He literally flew. Look, a 696. That's awesome, Gary.
And you'll go up against, well, will it be Taurus? Or will it be Micro Machine?
Those big yellow springs that you can see right over the rear wheels can tell you the story here. They're what they call the Custer shocks. That is the shock absorber that revolutionized this sport. We keep talking about the new trucks. That's the one common denominator. All the new trucks are running a trick shocks. Now, those shocks were designed for off-road racing, But look how they absorb the energy. Notice how Taurus settles.
Oh, it settles all right. It almost does a nose over.
Yeah, but in the no man's land portion you were talking about a moment ago with the Gary Porter vehicle, watch the replay when Taurus comes up and look how soft he settles down. See, Sunday drive. The final is set, Gary. 2 Chevrolets going to duke it out.
Army, let's talk to Jack Willman.
Well, Jack, you're going to be going into the final. Who's going to get lane choice out here?
It looks like I got lane choice.
Where are you going to go?
I'm going to go in the same lane I've been running, this right side lane.
Okay, now Porter likes that lane too, but that doesn't make a bit of difference. It's your choice.
That's correct. I got the fastest time out of last run, which we was both trying to do, and I got it, so I get choice.
We'll see you there.
Okay, thank you.
The championship shootout is coming up next in Canfield. There's a look at Gary Porter in the cockpit of Carolina Crusher, and he goes up against Jack Willman Sr. in a brand new Chevy truck he calls Taurus.
Now, Gary, throughout the show, we've been talking about the old style truck and the new style truck. The finalists set up with 2 new style trucks. I'll tell you who's going to win this race. The truck that has the least hang time, the truck that can stay closest to the track, will take the win.
Jack Willman Sr. is in the lane of choice. That is the right lane in Taurus. Well, let's see how much hang time they get here. Now, you're right, Gary Porter, a little more air, and the victory goes to Jack Willman. You were right on, Army. Jack Willman did not have as much air time or hang time. He takes the victory here in Canfield in that brand new Chevrolet pickup truck.
Yeah, Willman stayed close to the track. Watch him when he settles in no man's land. See, it's just a smooth drive. Meanwhile, Porter, a lot of bounce. He's in trouble on the far side.
And Army, you're with our victor.
Well, Jack, anytime you and Gary go to the starting line, basically it's just a shootout, isn't it?
That's exactly right. Gary's a tough runner.
What about the lanes? Tell me about that run.
Well, the lanes, this lane I've been running, of course, most of the afternoon, and it really felt good to me. And, you know, I never did let off of it from the start line. That's how good it felt to me.
Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you very much, Army.
It was a dusty day here in Canfield, Ohio. When the dust settled, Jack Willman took the victory. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. That wraps it up from Eastern Ohio. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power.
Qualifying is so important. We have a definite good lane and a bad lane, and look where Taurus is going. He's quick qualifier for this round. He's going to the good lane, and don't blame him one bit, do you?
He sticks John Moore, and no problem. But that left lane, the far lane, has created some problems this evening here in Canfield. Look there at the light as Lauren Bixler checks with both drivers. He turns them loose. It's a good start for no problem, but here comes the horsepower of Jack Willman Sr. That's what it was, horsepower in no man's land.
Man, that qualifying early in the evening is going to be so important. Remember, they qualified in daylight. The horsepower was different. Taurus has done what he had to do. He did it in the right lane. Now, John Moore runs good. He leaves with him, but again, look at the bounce.
Well, Army Taurus is turning out the horsepower, but that truck just does not sound quite right. Let's check in with Jack Willman Sr.
Jack, I tell you, the motor just doesn't sound like it's making the power it needs to be. Got a little flutter in there.
Yes, Army. We was only running on 7 cylinders at one run, and we went over there and worked on it and found the problem, and we're ready to give them a head.
So you were walking wounded a minute ago, but you're ready to go in the next round?
That's correct, Army.
Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Andy Brass concedes that left place is not the place to be.
Well, here's a look at Jack Willman Sr. in the truck that he owns. This is Taurus. They're out of Granite City, Illinois, just across the river from St. Louis. Now, he's driven this. His son has driven this. There's your red light again, indicating everything is go with the electrical system. He also has his nephew, Eldon Depew, on occasion in the cockpit. And there's a look at Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass, out of St. Louis, Missouri. So these guys are neighbors in the Midwest.
They're neighbors, and they're brothers in making this sport go. For the Chevrolet camp, Taurus is represented well. Of course, everybody knows about Coors and Bob and Bigfoot, but these guys have been instrumental in taking the sport forward. We keep talking about the red lights and the safety equipment. This sport is going, it's growing. The MTRA, the national organization, are setting the standards and the rules, and that's why we're seeing good racing. Speaking of good racing, Gary,
it's going to be the left lane. Yes!
First win of the night.
Andy Brass talked about the problem with the left lane. He put his foot down, and here's an example of truck, chassis, engine, and driver working together. Watch this truck settle down right here, and he's right back on the throttle. No jumping about. He clears the entire second row of cars, and he takes the victory. Well, here is Wayne Smozanik in the Jupiter, Florida truck they call Nightlife. Actually, that truck was built by Dave Wyzorek out of Nebraska. He takes on Jack Willman Sr. out of Granite City, Illinois in the Taurus Chevrolet.
Willman's another driver that's been around forever. The gentleman in the far lane, Wayne, he's a new driver in this sport, but he comes to us from drag racing. He's got a lot of irons in the seat in a pro stock drag car, so he knows what it's going to take to win. The starting line, reaction time is important. He's still got that, but Willman seems to be, yes, horsepowering him on the big end.
Now, Willman had the advantage there out of brute strength from under the hood. As the Taurus truck will advance to round 2, we look again.
It's amazing how these, now watch them, they're just catching.
Yes. Looks like the remnants of a demolition derby. This is Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch. That thing has been upside down more than it's been right side up. And it goes up against a brand new truck, Jack Willman Sr. out of Granite City, Illinois in the Chevy Taurus.
I'm anxious to see what kind of a mindset that Scott Stevens has right now. I'll be very honest, Gary, if I were in that truck, I'm not sure that I would push it very hard. We're going to find out what kind of a monster truck racer is. If he goes after Taurus, and he is, look at this, he's not afraid of him.
The Taurus has the advantage right there, and he takes it by about 2 truck lengths.
Yeah, but Scott was running him as hard as he could. I think Stevens, you know, the proverbial getting back up on the horse after it's thrown you, we may have just witnessed that right here, but Stevens and the crew, they'll get it all figured out, but they got another whole round not to worry about now. Taurus will be going to that next one.
But before he prepares the truck, let's talk to Jack Willman Sr.
Well, Jack, it sounds like the horsepower is back. Would you say you have other problems?
Yeah, I got a little transmission problems, but we kind of got it, the housings broke on it, and we got it held in there right now with some motorcycle straps, and I made it that round. If I'm lucky today, well, maybe to make it 2 more rounds.
Might be the old duct tape and baling wire. We'll be watching you.
Okay, thank you, Army.
Yeah, it's amazing what they use to hold these trucks together as they get through the competition. And here is a battered truck at best. Scott Stevens out of Spring, Texas. And there is a Jack Willman Sr. out of Granite City, Illinois.
Scott and his crew have been walking around the pit area all day long whistling zippity-doo-dah. That's the kind of attitude you got to have when you're in this kind of shape. You got to believe in what you're doing. And he's picking up points. That is important. Well, hey, he's running hard
over the first set of cars, but Jack Willman will take the victory, and Jack will advance to the championship round here in Canfield, Ohio. He takes Taurus to the championship.
Taurus is going against the snake bite, but Scott Stevens, it's been a major day of accomplishment for him. He and the Auto Value team have picked up a lot of points.
Well, that should make for a very interesting pairing for the championship. But here is Jack Willman Sr.
Gary, we're standing with the other half of the final, and you're sitting strong in this thing, Jack. A 540 is where we get. You're kind of saying we got problems, but that doesn't show it with a 540.
No, it sure doesn't, Army. And I'm happy with that. You know, that's the best time I turned today, and that's about what I've been running through the weekend. So if I can get my transmission to hold up for 1 more time, but she just keeps it sagging a little bit more and a little bit more. But 1 more time, maybe we can get in that winner's circle.
Let's see if he can do it from Canfield. Army Armstrong, as we take a look at Jack Willman Sr. in Taurus, he goes against Snakebite.
Gary, I walked over and looked at the bottom of this truck. I looked at the transmission. That I would not set in that truck right now. There's about a 1/4 inch crack all the way around it. It is literally just held together by nylon straps. Jack Willman's right foot is about 2 inches from something that could explode and hurt him bad. But it's final time, and it's time to go to the line.
Yeah, but sometimes you have to think about your own safety and say, hey, it's time to walk away and forfeit this championship and not take the chance of injury. But Willman is strapped on board Taurus. He's alongside Colt Cobra in Snakebite. This is for the championship in Canfield, Ohio. They stage.
Boy, the drama is thick. You could see a bomb here. So far, so good.
No, Jack's going to take it. Oh, and he's almost over on his nose. He almost went on over the transmission hold for that final run, and he takes the championship here in Canfield.
Well, I tell you what, that is putting a lot of trust in some nylon straps.
A lot of strain on the transmission, and you're right, a lot of faith in those nylon straps. They hold, and he wins it. But look at this. He almost noses over.
Yeah, he almost high-sided, but almost don't count except in hand grenades and horseshoes. So monster trucks, he just plain old won it, Gary.
Colt Cobra on your right, Jack Willman Sr. on your left, and right here, watch how Jack nose dives over the second set of cars, bounces back upright. He takes the victory. He's the champion here in Canfield, Ohio. We've been watching Jack today. Watch how he climbs out of this truck, down through the bottom of the cab, and walks around the front of it. Doesn't go through the window like everybody else does, but he wants to check out the damage under this truck. And Army, let's go down trackside to you.
Been like that last 2 runs.
Boy, you talk about an interesting scenario. He just pointed out to me the only thing holding that were 2 straps, like bungee type straps. Congratulations on the win, but I think Lady Luck was in your crew today.
Oh, definitely. Lady Luck was there, for sure.
Strong run. You ran hard all day long. You knew you had problems, but you still stayed after it. That's what this sport's coming to. There's no rollover. You got to go 100% all the way.
That's right. These guys out here won't let you lay down.
Well, I tell you, congratulations. We enjoy watching you win this one.
Thank you very much, Ronnie.
And that will wrap it up from the Canfield Fairgrounds near Youngstown, Ohio, where Taurus held on by a thread, literally, to win the championship here today. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Competition continues. We look at the youngster. This is Jack Willman Jr., only 24 years of age. He drives Taurus out of Granite City, Illinois, up near St. Louis, and he'll be going up against No Problem, the Bronco, driven by John Moore out of Lafayette, Tennessee.
Now, John Moore has been around this sport a long time. He knows technically his truck could not compete with the Taurus. By the way, you're going to get to take a ride with Taurus on this run. He knows if he's going to get him, it's going to be on the starting line. Moore is going to go hard off the line. Watch it. Look at, he leads right with him. Now it's up to horsepower.
And Taurus takes it. The youngster from Granite City, Illinois, Jack Willman Jr. takes the victory over the veteran from Tennessee.
The late technology truck. We're inside of it right now. I want you to notice the driver. Watch the abuse he takes. See, the new suspensions are really absorbing a lot of the energy, so this particular race the rest of the afternoon will not be a chassis race. It'll just get down to brute horsepower.
Well, there is the youngster from Granite City, Illinois, near St. Louis. Now we look at the man from Carolina, the Carolina Crusher. There is Jack Willman Jr., only 24 years of age, and Gary Porter. And Gary says you don't need to announce my age, so we won't.
Whoa,
oh, Gary was asleep at the throttle. Whoa. Gary Porter simply was asleep. The light turned green, and Jack Willman was away.
Yeah, but Gary, you got to remember, they leave off an electrical starting system. He could have Gary, I believe he did. He red lighted on the start of that race. There's official. He jumped the gun. You got to cut the tree to get a win, but the tree fell on him when he cut it that time.
There's the frustration showing in father and son. Jack Willman Jr. and Sr. as Jr. walks away, and now...
Bad habit. One of the Dodge boys coming out. Relies on the Chrysler horsepower out of Missouri, Don Van Loo. Who's he going to be going against?
Well, he goes up against Jack Willman Jr. in Granite City, Illinois' Taurus. This is a father-son combination, and on this given day, Jr. is in the cockpit. We've seen his dad win before. Let's see how well Junior can do here this afternoon. Whoa, a great hole shot. Great young reflexes.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you what, Willman impressed Army Armstrong on that run.
Well, he cut that light as well as you can cut it. That was just great reflex, great anticipation. He took the victory. Now, there may have been some problems over here with bad medicine, but whatever the problem was, the victor goes to Taurus.
Yeah, the light went green. He went south.
Advance. Here's a look at Jack Willman Jr. in Taurus out of Granite City, Illinois. And also he'll go up against Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher. Look at the tires on Porter's truck. Some new ideas, some new strategy for Gary. And here's Army Armstrong.
One of the things that fascinates a lot of people about these behemoth monster trucks is the size of the tires. And what we're going to do is talk about tire technology, believe it or not, in monster truck racing. On my left, your right, I want you to notice the bar on this tire. This is the way they normally come out there on off-road equipment. It's a flat bar about 3 inches wide, okay? Keep that in mind, flat bar 3 inches wide. Let's go over to the new tire concept that Gary Porter's running. He's taking that flat bar and sharpened it. It's almost razor sharp in order to get a good bite and a good claw into the clay surface. So like anything else, tire technology in monster truck racing is very, very important.
Army, that reminds me of the tires that we have in the mud bog competition.
Yeah, see, the angle that they're cutting these tires will pull the vehicle straight. Right now, he better pull hard. No.
Oh, no, the youngster from Granite City, Illinois, and the Chevy Taurus truck takes the victory. He doesn't look too excited there in the cockpit, does he?
No, I tell you what, this family gets so excited when they race. We've talked about it before. I don't think I've ever seen them walk in the pit area. They run everywhere, and they're going to be running in the next round.
We have seen senior Jack Willman Sr. win in the Taurus truck. Now Junior's doing a pretty fair job.
Speaking of Junior, let's take a ride with him. You notice his shock absorber? That's one of the new Custer shock absorbers that the new tech trucks are running, about $1,500 a pop. Now,
and here is the youngster from Granite City, Jack Willman Jr. in Taurus. I tell you what, it may be tough to decide who's the better of the drivers, dad or son in this. And here's Andy Brass from St. Louis in Bigfoot 8. Ford against Chevrolet.
Each of these runs we're going to see in this round would be worth the price of admission, believe me. Gary, just like you know, both of these drivers are sharp. The driver that stays the coolest is going to win. We got a major problem
down there with Bigfoot, and now a problem with Taurus.
Taurus has blown the bottom end of the transmission on the drive shaft, but Bigfoot's still running. Andy Brass notices Taurus is out of the running. He's lost a throttle linkage, I believe. He reached down with his right hand and is driving across, trying to get to the final round.
This may be the slowest semifinal ever in monster truck racing, but Bigfoot will advance. Now he finds the fire, and he will advance to the championship.
Slowest race of the day between two of the fastest monster trucks in the sport.
Something happens to Andy Brass right at the start, and now something happens to the Taurus truck of Jack Willman Jr. as he hits the ramp for the first set of cars. Andy looks over, sees there's a problem. He gets Bigfoot going, and he creeps across the finish. Army Armstrong.
Well, Gary, we're standing with a fellow who has a vested interest in that run. Jack Sr. Jack, what happened on the run?
Well, I guess it's one of them mechanical things that you just can't never tell about, you know, but it looks like it broke the input shaft on the transmission. You know, he left, and then he just lost all power, which just one of them things you can't detect.
This is one of these runs you were hoping was on top of a hill where he would keep rolling downhill. I was watching, you kept leaning forward. It just wasn't to be today.
Right, he get some body motion into it, but it didn't help too much.
Well, good luck. You guys still made a good showing for yourself.
Thank you.
As a truck owner, you never like to see this Taurus out of competition.
This is a truck they should rename all in the family. This is Eldon Depew. He is a nephew of Jack Willman Sr., the owner of the truck. We've seen Jack's son Jack Jr. drive, so everyone in the family gets a shot at driving Taurus, and he goes up against Wayne Smozanik, the Chevrolet from Jupiter, Florida, called Tropical Thunder.
Gary, I wonder what the Willman family talk about at family reunions like Thanksgiving and Christmas. Sit around and talk about monster truck
how
races.
tender the turkey is.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, we got a race, Gary. Look at this. Hey,
Wow, but Depew takes the victory in Taurus. So the nephew turns in a good ride here. I just wonder how they determine who actually drives the truck.
knowing these guys, it could be with the flip
Flip
of
a coin.
Exactly.
So Taurus advances as he will send Wayne Smozanik to the trailer.
Smozanik comes to the sport from drag racing. His reaction time showed us that.
Yeah, but it was horsepower over reaction time. Here's Eldon.
Eldon coming into the driver's seat of one of the toughest trucks on the circuit. Does that put a whole lot more pressure on you? You know, it doesn't seem that way from the outer.
No, it's not really a whole lot of pressure because these new design trucks, they're real smooth, real easy to drive. You know, you got to have some driving ability, but Jack Willman drives an excellent truck.
Great, now, but Jack Willman's not driving that truck today. You are. How does it feel to you?
It feels excellent. You know, he designed it, he's happy with it, and I'm happy driving.
We'll see you in the next round.
Thank you.
So Eldon Depew drives Taurus here this afternoon. A good crowd on hand at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Eldon Depew in Taurus survives first round competition. He puts his neck brace on there out of Granite City, Illinois, the nephew of the truck owner, Jack Willman Sr. And here is Nick Rossi in the Outlaw.
You know, during the interview a minute ago, I noticed Rossi is very relaxed. He's the owner of the truck. He's actually having fun here, and he's not afraid of this kid. Look at here. Rossi's going after him.
And Rossi, well, wait a minute. That's almost a dead heat. Let's wait for the official word on that one.
Nick Rossi can still drive a monster truck. He just proved it right there. He drills this kid on the line.
We drilled him on the line, but Eldon Depew comes back right here over that second set of cars. Look how close it is.
You got to call it. I can't.
I can't call it. Let's wait for the official word. Right there it is. Nick Rossi, the Outlaw, takes the victory. Now we'll watch Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher as he faces off against Taurus.
Taurus with Eldon Depew out of Granite City was the fast loser in our last round.
Both of these drivers have one thing in common. They've both been beat on the lights today. Neither one wants it to happen twice. Here we go.
Good start for both, but right now it's Gary Porter. He powers out. Eldon dips the front end going over that second set of cars, and Gary Porter in the Chevrolet, the Carolina Crusher, sponsored by Big A Auto Parts, takes the victory. So we will have a Ford and a Chevrolet in the championship shootout here at Indianapolis.
Look at that nose-over attitude of Taurus. Now, he says that's an easy truck to drive. I don't know, Gary. His idea of easy and mine could be two completely different things.
So once again, here's a look at Andy Brass in Bigfoot 8, the tube-frame truck out of St. Louis, Missouri. And there is Eldon Depew, Granite City, Illinois. They're neighbors, and that is the Taurus truck owned by the Willman family. Eldon is Jack Willman Sr.'s nephew.
Yeah, you got to remember, though, so were the Hatfield and McCoys. They were neighbors, and they didn't get along very good. I think you can say the same thing here. Andy Brass comes out showing no mercy on his rookie driver.
And Brass takes the victory as Taurus noses over at the finish line.
We talk about Taurus having that snoopy nose. I guarantee you Depew got a real good look at that grass on the far end of the track.
Well, once again, the hole shot can be so important in this type of competition. And right there in no man's land, it's all Andy Brass.
Gary, I tell you what, this Depew kid is not afraid to drive that monster truck. He's going to be another attack driver.
And there is a look at Andy Brass, Bigfoot 8. Of course, he is based in St. Louis, Missouri, only about a 4 or 5 hour drive from here in Indianapolis. And he'll go up against Eldon Depew of Granite City, Illinois in Taurus.
Jack Wellman, the owner of this truck, told Eldon, just go drive your race. Get time in the seat. These trucks ran against each other in the first round. The brake rule brings Taurus back in this thing. I wonder what's going through his mind right now. I don't think he's going to let Andy intimidate him at all. Oh, boy.
Andy got the hole shot. Oh, look how close it was, though. Andy had the hole shot, but Eldon stuck his foot to the floorboard and almost caught him. Andy may have won it, though.
That was amazing. This kid, you can see him on every run developing a car. He's left at the light. Okay, now from here on out, it's got to be horsepower. The truck settles, all four wheels bite. He launches it. I bet this kid for a hobby likes to tap dance in a minefield. That's the kind of mindset he has.
All right, who won it?
I don't know. We're still waiting.
That was a photo finish. I'm not sure that...
They're going into technical trailer to check it out, Gary.
Well, we rely on the videotape, but they'll be looking at what we just saw, and we can't tell. There's Andy Brass. Looking again.
One up, one down. Like two fighter pilots. One's trying to go up, the other one's trying to go down. Look at that. Nose up, nose down.
Well, the officials are now saying that it was Bigfoot that won by, what, the right front tire, perhaps?
They may say that, but that's not what I see. But what I see doesn't count, I guess.
So Andy Brass wins it, but I think we'll see this young man back in competition because the fast loser of this round will return. Let's talk. Here is a look at Steve Hess in Nightmare, the final afternoon of competition for this pickup. And there is Eldon Depew in Taurus. What an afternoon he has had. The fast loser from our preceding round, so he is still in competition.
Like a bad dream. This Taurus truck just keeps coming back and coming back.
And he's going to win this one.
Yeah.
Like a cat with 9 lives. This truck has lost twice today already, but on the brake rule and on the fast loser rule, he's come back twice, and now he's won.
That's exactly right, Gary, but there's only one winner at the end of the day, and you only got to win one race, and he's going to be in that race. Could the third time be charmed?
At the opening of the show, we said this was the 10th anniversary of Bigfoot. It's going to be Bigfoot and Taurus for the championship. The finals, Bigfoot and Taurus.
We've been here twice already. The big difference is, I guarantee, if Taurus can leave with Bigfoot, he can beat him on the other end. That's going to be the trick. If that kid can stay cool and come out of the gate with Brass, he did it. He did it.
He wins it. He has it by a fender. Army, you called it. You're absolutely right on. He stayed with him. Brass may have had a slight hole shot right there, but otherwise the kid, Eldon Depew, stays with Andy Brass, and Taurus, the Chevrolet, knocks off the Ford Bigfoot.
Boy, that is amazing. The replay shows one goes over nose up, the other one goes over nose down, both times.
And the youngster from Granite City, Illinois, not far from St. Louis, takes the victory. He's the winner here at the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Let's talk to Eldon Depew, the champion this afternoon.
Eldon, third time was charm for you, but really, I got to give you a lot of credit. To be a new driver, you're awfully good at this.
You know, I've been around them since they started. You know, Jack's been doing this for 12 years, and I've been right there with them. And, you know, I learned from the best, Jack Willman, and that's where I give all the credit to.
I'll tell you what, he's got an awful lot to be proud of. You got a lot of credit coming your way, too. Congratulations to you.
Thank you, Army.
And that will wrap it up from the Indiana State Fairgrounds here in Indianapolis. Our congratulations to Eldon Depew. The fans show their appreciation. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Join us next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. We take a look at John Moore's No Problem, another unique vehicle here on the circuit. This is the Bronco out of Lafayette, Tennessee. John Moore, No Problem, the Ford. And he goes up against, well, a newcomer as a driver, but certainly a talented driver. This is Eldon Depew driving Taurus out of Granite City, Illinois, just across the river from St. Louis. Uncle Jack Willman, the truck owner. Jack Sr. and Jr. both have driven. Now it's Eldon Depew in the cockpit as Taurus goes up against No Problem.
Boy, and John Moore drills him on a line. Depew's got to pull it back in the middle.
He does. Oh, he almost comes over on the nose and nose over at the finish line. You're right. John Moore had the whole shot. Eldon Depew had to come from behind.
But what that is the fact that Moore's one of the old pros. He knew what he's got to do to get to this kid, and he did it. But Depew has something Moore didn't have on this run. He had the horsepower.
He got the whole shot, but Eldon takes the victory, and he's with Army.
Gary, we're standing with a young man right now that's kind of showing us how cool he is. Eldon, John Moore tried to play mind games with you, rocking back and forth and everything. You just kind of stayed with it and ran your own race.
Yeah, I don't pay much attention to the other person on the start line. I just get up there and do my own thing and make sure I'm ready.
How about the truck pulling on the other end? That's what won the race for you, not the starting line.
Yeah, the truck runs real strong, you know. I just want to get over the first set of cars smooth and then hammer for the second set.
That wraps up round one competition. A good crowd on hand here in the south of Florida, but you have the best seat in the house, so stay tuned. We're coming back for round two competition from Florida Sports Park in Naples, Florida. Take a look at Eldon Depew, the youngster out of Granite City, Illinois, over by St. Louis, and Taurus on the right side. And there is Colt Cobra and Snakebite on the left side.
Now, Colt had an easy run in the first round. Depew did not. First jump, they're even.
Eldon Depew, Army by only a fender. You're right. They were side by side coming off the line. No one had the whole shot advantage, but it was superior horsepower by that truck right there. Taurus, Eldon Depew, he got him in no man's land. Headed for the, watch this again now, heading for the finish line. And right here, under power, Eldon Depew takes the victory and defangs the snake, and he is down there trackside with Army.
Eldon, it looks like about the first foot and a half of the track is starting to break up under you guys. Will that affect the truck?
Yeah, you know, it's a little soft on the starting line. It's starting to dig some holes, but I think once we get down to the harder stuff again, it'll be all right.
Oh, everything's okay? You ready to go in the next round?
Yeah, we're ready to go.
Gary, he doesn't realize this is South Florida. There's no hard stuff under that sand. It's all sand.
First, we had the semifinal matchup between this guy right here, the youngster Eldon Depew in Taurus, and he goes up against Scott Stevens out of Texas in the Auto Value King Crunch.
You got to remember, Gary, Depew has been late all day long off the starting line. The trucks had to make a lot of horsepower mid-range in order for him to get to the Final Four. Stevens knows that. Hey, now Depew is on time on that light.
Depew was off the line, and he had the horsepower and takes what most would consider an easy victory. There is Taurus. He will go into our championship shootout here this afternoon in Naples as we take a look again.
I'll tell you what, the kid was on the light. Congratulations to him. You know, time in the seat, you know how important it is. Well, he seems to be awfully relaxed, but the most important thing, he's half the final. Who's going to be the second half? That's the big question, Gary.
Well, he went to school the first two rounds, and he took what he learned to that semifinal round to knock off the Auto Value King Crunch and Scott Stevens. And look at the size of that victory. Here's Eldon with Army.
Gary, we're talking to a guy that took the monster truck race and literally like a duck takes the water. You seem to just be a natural at this sport.
Yeah, you know, been around it for a while. You know, my Uncle Jack's been driving for a long time. Watched him, you know, watched my cousin Jackie. You know, I just learned from the best.
Well, yeah, I agree with that now. It's final time. You know that you're going to be there. Do you have any preferences to who you're going to run? The Ford of Bigfoot or the kid with the Carolina Crusher and the Chevrolet?
They're both tough competition. You know, whoever gets there, I hope to beat them, though, too.
Yeah. Gary Lee, we got a unique situation here. We got the old veteran here. Gary Porter, been through these wars many, many times. His advantage is going to be on the starting line end of the track. The other side of the coin is this new kid. He may be a new kid in age, but I tell you what, he's driving like an old pro. He's going to have a top-end charge. He's going to be like Katie bar the door. So he's going to win this one. I really think if there was ever such a thing as a toss-up, this is it. The only common denominator, both Chevrolets in the final. Let's go.
Ford fans are somewhat disappointed that perhaps Bigfoot is not in the final, but it will be Chevrolet against Chevrolet. Gary Porter, the Carolina Crusher, Eldon Depew, and Taurus.
But there's another common denominator here, Gary. We opened the show talking about the technology in the sport. You hear Andy Brass talking about changes during the race and everything. The new trucks, the new style, two of the newest are in the final.
All right, it's the youngster in Taurus, the veteran in Crusher.
Oh, heads up start, both drivers. Now they're in no man's land. Horsepower pays off.
Well, it's the Carolina Crusher with Gary Porter, but I think Gary had the advantage. I think he cut a better light.
He did. Boy, he drilled that tree, and it paid off on the other end.
Watch again. Watch the left-hand lane. Yeah, he cut a real nice light.
Down. See, he settled down in no man's land, and Depew was bouncing a little bit. That's all Porter needed.
The chassis was working along with the horsepower. Gary Porter wins. Continues now, Army. We take a look at Big John Moore out of Tennessee, and no problem. That is the Ford Bronco, a short wheelbase and older style suspension. Truck bounces a lot. John out of Lafayette, Tennessee. And also, he goes up against the youngster from Granite City, Illinois. This is Taurus. The driver is Eldon Depew. His uncle, Uncle Jack Willman Sr., the owner of Taurus.
John Moore has a chance here. He's the old-timer. He's been around. He's going against a new kid. He will take his time and try to rattle the kid on the far side, break his concentration, if you will. It'll help. If he can do it, it might be to his advantage.
Look at Taurus move in football. That'd be encroachment. Offsides. Did he jump the light? Did he red light? Well, Taurus takes the victory, but we'll have to wait for the official judgment here. Taurus may have red lighted.
What? John Moore was playing mind games. Did he get the kid? I don't know.
I thought you said they drained the swamp.
They did. Almost all of it.
Let's look again. Now watch Taurus. The upper right hand of your screen bobbles just a bit. Has some movement.
He burped the throttle, but I believe the ruling is going to be that he didn't. It wasn't his advantage. He may just have lunged a little.
Well, there's the margin of victory, and indeed, we're now being told that it was not a red light. It was a legal start for Eldon Depew in Taurus. So the pickup truck beats out the Ford Bronco, and there once again is the margin of victory as they cross the finish line, and almost over on his nose is John Moore.
Well, he almost high-sided that little rascal.
Concerted Andy Brass. He's victorious, but now here's what he refers to. Now watch Eldon Depew move right there. Now, according to Andy, that should be, he said, a DQ.
No, the rule book says once the vehicle is set, it must stay set until the light turns green. That's what the rule says.
But then if the official says it's okay, how do you override the official? Well, anyway, some frustration on the part of some drivers back in the pit area.
Any guy that wears yellow gloves that color stands between two monster trucks I am not going to argue with.
Well, there is the Taurus truck of Eldon Depew and the Auto Value King Crunch of Scott Stevens. This is round 2 competition from the south of Florida. We're in Naples. What a beautiful location for motorsports. They drained the swamp to bring on the monsters, and look at that. Look at that. That is a thorough thrashing by Eldon Depew, and there's a happy one there. But look at Eldon lock it up and slide to a stop in the mud.
Gary, this is just one of those days where everything is starting to fall into place for the Taurus truck.
But right now, there is a cloud of controversy circulating around Eldon Depew. Let's check in with a young chauffeur.
Eldon, you seem to be like the new kid in school. Everybody's paying a whole lot of attention to you. There's a lot of problems over there about your starting techniques. Can you explain it?
You know, I don't know what their problems is with my starting technique. You know, I just try to get myself ready, and I guess they're thinking I'm jumping the gun, but all I'm really doing is putting the truck up on the brake a little bit, you know, so I get a little better start.
Well, there's how he explains it. Perhaps that's not the way the other drivers see it.
Well, that's a common practice in the sport of drag racing. I can understand it, but the bottom line is, and let's let the spectator make the call, the rules say when it's set, it does not move.
He did move. As there's a good crowd on hand, and I tell you, they have been very, very receptive and very responsive to the monster trucks here in the south of Florida. And here's a look at Bigfoot, and they're staging Eldon Depew in the Chevrolet Taurus. Now let's watch his starting technique and see if it happens again, Army.
He talks about getting the truck up on the brake. That's the same thing as putting your foot on the brake and your foot on the gas and tightening it up. There he did.
I see, jumps again. Now you're saying by the rule book that should be a disqualification. Well, it doesn't really matter because Bigfoot with Andy Brass is the winner of this semifinal round, but once again, the other drivers are saying he should have been disqualified earlier.
Okay, what I'm saying is the rule, like I say, all I'm going to do is give you the rule book. You make the decision. The rule book says once you're set, you don't move till the light goes green. He moved.
Well, I would think that that would be a disadvantage because he comes out of the throttle after he burps it. About the time the light changes, Brass is in the throttle. He's out of the throttle.
He did that time. They're saying he didn't do it the other time.
Well, let's watch again.
Now
watch again.
We're going to key on him. If the truck moves at all, he should be disqualified. Enough said. Okay, Gary, he did go up on a brake, but Andy Brass went up on the other end.
Look at this in-truck shot. This is Taurus, and that is the youngster from Granite City, Illinois. That is Eldon Depew. He is the nephew of Jack Willman Sr., who owns Taurus. And look who he goes up against. He's going to try to defang Snakebite Colt Cobra out of Cobra Creek, Colorado. Well, he's a mouthy driver, but on occasion he can back it up with his foot.
Yeah, I'll guarantee you that, but it's working because he's already signed a corporate sponsor. We know it's a major toy manufacturer on the side of that truck, but tonight, that's not going to work for him. Now, something interesting here. Oh, Snakebite's having a little bit of problem. He gets it shut down. A moment ago, Bigfoot ran in the left lane, and he cleared the vehicles. Okay, the way he landed. Watch the way Taurus lands. Taurus is a nose-over lander. He lands nose down like a fighter pilot. Watch the front end. Bigfoot lands nose up. There is a chassis difference on 12,000-pound monster trucks, Gary.
Well, your victor there, advancing to round two. That is Eldon Depew in Taurus. He takes the victory as we take a look at a great crowd here in the Hoosier Dome in downtown Indianapolis. The monster truck show continues as we ride once again with Eldon Depew in the cockpit of the monster truck Taurus. We're coming back for round two. Stay with us as Trucks and Tractor Power continues.
Who else is going to roll over? We're going to find out right now. This is worth the price of admission. Chevrolet fans are going to be pulling for Taurus. On the other side, the big blue truck. Andy Brass will be driving Bob Chandler's creation. But right now, Jack Willman Sr., the creator of the Taurus team, he's the man on the spot. He's watching his nephew do the driving. Eldon Depew, Andy Brass, Chevrolet, and Ford, Gary.
Well, these guys are neighbors separated by the river over there. Andy Brass out of St. Louis. Eldon Depew out of Granite City, Illinois, and it looks like Eldon Depew taking the victory over Bigfoot. Watch again, Army.
Why, Eldon Depew literally, look how low he stays to the ground. Stays there.
That's where he wanted, right there in
exactly.
no man's land. The truck did not jump. It came off that first set of cars in a smooth fashion. He kept it low to the ground, and that's where he was able to apply the horsepower. He takes the victory.
Speaking of horsepower, Barefoot and Taurus, Gary, probably the two most powerful trucks on the circuit.
Here's a look from inside the cockpit. Seated alongside Eldon Depew in Taurus and Fred Schaefer in the cockpit of Barefoot. This should be a dandy.
Told you it's going to be a goofy round. Is anything weird going to happen?
Barefoot comes back as a fast loser and takes the victory. And that means that Barefoot will go up against Crusher for the championship here in the Hoosier Dome.
And all night long, everybody is still trying to get these trucks figured out. Barefoot comes up on the left side of the screen. Now, notice the
He's in trouble
gyration
right there.
Yeah, look at the gyrations of these vehicles. Don't ever think for them. It's like somebody tells me drag racing is straight racing. No, monster truck racing is not straight either. These guys are all over that track. Bam. Big bounce, shutting it down. Up on his left, up on his right. Now he's got to throttle back, sliding in a concrete wall. That's monster truck racing, Gary.